Hello and welcome to another video. We've got something a bit different today. I don't know if you saw the last video that we did, the Boston Blues Junior, as I probably spent a bit too much time moaning on that video, probably due to the fact that my mum's quite ill at the moment, as some of you know, and I think I probably opened that up and thought it would cheer me up a bit. However, this probably will cheer me up a bit. This is a Burman amplifier. It's a 50 watt tube amplifier. They're quite rare, these. They're supposed to be brilliantly made. They were made in Newcastle in the United Kingdom. That's really as much as I know about this amp. I'm not even sure of the date on it. So any of you out there know anything about these Burmans, probably it'll be someone in the UK that knows about them, because I suppose most of you in the States have probably never heard of these. Where do we start with this then? So it's a two-channel, is it a two-channel amplifier? I think it's got this 3 gain stage anyway, and I think we've probably got a foot switch on the back for that. We'll have a look later. So we've got gain 1, gain 2, gain 3. We've got bass, middle, treble and presence, usual deal. And we've got reverb on this. We've also got a switch that says HF, which I presume will be high frequency. Oh, just real. Oh, hang on. No, I think I thought I'd got two stages of switching on it, but it's not. So let's swing it round and have a look at the back. And this thing weighs more than I do, although that's not difficult. Right, so I've just got to make sure that's in shot on the camera. So you can see now in this amp, you can see we've got 2 EL34s, but this amp originally came with KT66s, and I've actually got a brand new pair of KT66s to put in this amp. Same dissipation, 25 watts, and I have checked the data sheet. Due to the boo-boo that I made on the Epiphone Elector 10, which we'll cover in this part 2 of that, where I didn't spot that that was a 5881 and not a 6L6 GC, so the dissipation is different. So I've been and read the data sheet on the KT66 so I don't make any more boo-boos. And I think this amp's got partridge transformers in it, looking at that, and I think I can just about see, you probably can't see it, but there's a partridge logo on there, I think, maybe, or what's left of one. So let's have a look on the back. So no foot switch, so this must be, we'll have to work out what's actually happening with those gain stages. There's no schematic for this amp as far as I know. I have had a look, can't find one anywhere, and I can't find much information out about them either. But there must be someone out there that knows something about these amps, other than they've got a brilliant reputation. So we've got extension loudspeakers, and then we've got this alt, so I don't know whether that means alternative. We've got a direct inject and a reverb remote foot switch. 3 amp fuse, that'll be for the mains. What else? So let's have a look at that speaker, see how we can get down and look inside there. So we have got, is that a 15 or a 12? Well, it is a 12, that looks huge. So it just says Burman amplification on the speaker, and then there's a type serial number there, model number, sorry. So I don't really know what that speaker is, you know, I have no idea. So I think what we'll do with this now is we'll get the chassis out. Actually, what we'll do with this first is we'll plug it in and just see if we can have a bit of a listen. Right, so I'll switch this on and we've got a bit of humming in the background, and it's just gradually faded away. So that's telling me, could be caps, could be tubes. Let's turn the volumes down. So we have got a faint background hum there. So this amp may need some capacitors. Yes. Wow, that's a very active tone circuit. So we've got a bit of a, let me just bring that back up so you can see what I'm doing. So we've got a bit of a scratchy pot there. And that could be a bit of DC leakage. And the reverb's tainted on it as well. That is a high frequency switch. You can hear that. It has got a bit quieter now as it's been on for a while. So is that the tubes? Or is it the caps? Probably the caps. This amp probably hasn't been recapped. I've got a feeling when we open this up we'll probably find it's all original. Let's have a bit of a listen. So I'll just get a guitar lead. And a guitar, of course, that always helps. And we'll fathom out how these gains work. So let's turn those down, turn this one right up. So this gain 3 is kind of like a master volume then over the other two stages. See that reverb's tainted. Let's turn both of these full up. Oh dear. That's not right, is it? There's some blocking distortion going on there or something. That sounds much better after turning those down a bit. There's way too much gain on there, you see. probably around JCM 800 level of distortion there. Frequency switch must work off this gain. Does it? Yeah, it does. So that works off this gain 1 control. I don't think it really needs that, to be honest. But interesting. So it looks like somebody's doctored this control here. It looks like the red inserts come out and they've stuck. That looks like part of a plectrum or something that they've rounded off there and just put a bit of white paint or something on there. Tipex, that's the word I'm thinking of. Well, I think we better get this out and get it in the workshop and just have a bit of a look. So if we turn the gains full up, it's just way too much. So it won't, you get a very awful sound. As you back this gain 1 and 2 off, it gets better. And let's just see, let's just put this up full. If this amp's ever been recapped, you know. So you can get a good sound out of this amp, but you do have to fiddle around with the controls a bit to get it. It's not what we call a plug-in and play amp, but when you do get the settings right, you can get some quite nice tones out of it. But we may be able to get better tone out of it if it gets a recap. So let's take it in the workshop and see if any work's been done to it. Wow, this really is cheering me up. Look at this transformer. Just look at the size of that. I think that would run a medium-sized housing estate. That is a beast. In fact, that must be the biggest power transformer I've ever seen on a 50-watt amplifier. Yeah, that's something you'd see on a Marshall Major or something. That is massive for this amp. So I wonder how much HT voltage is going through those tubes. 50 watt, remember that's the output transformer. Don't see a choke on this amp, which is strange for an amp this size. So we've got these plugs here, and the speaker was the same. I don't know where it is now. Is it on the back of the chassis, or I can't see it here, but that's for the reverb. You can see there. Let's just drop the camera in so you can see that. That's how the reverb plugs in. Now these sockets, plugs and sockets, are supposed to be a bit unreliable, so that may be why the reverb's causing problems, so we may have to look at that. Look at the amount of preamp tubes we've got as well. So obviously one's for the reverb, and then one's the phase inverter. So we've got 4 preamp tubes going on there, which explains why we've got so much gain. But the real reason why this amp has cheered me up even more is take a look inside it. And this thing weighs as much as I do. It really just takes some lifting. Look at that. That is a work of art. That is awesome. Polystyrene caps there. If they're on, I think they're polystyrene. They're if they're on the tone stack. All mustard caps. So no expense has been spared on this amplifier. This is a serious bit of kit. You're just looking. We've got the right. Before I start delving too deeply into this amplifier, I'm just going to check these capacitors are discharged. Just check over here. No, that's okay. That's okay. That one's got a bleed resistor on, so that one will be fine. It's just, yep, that's fine. Just check before we start. Always check. Remember, we've not long since had this amp switched on, only a few minutes ago. So yes, look at that. That's very nice inside. The caps are really old though, and those RS, I wonder if they've got a date on, you know, those RS caps. So that's these over here. Let's just hone in. And with a 220 microfarad in series at 350 volts, so that probably tells us we've probably got around 500 volts on those tubes. We'll check that in a moment. Now those caps look okay, but they have been in there a long time. It'd be nice if we could get a date off them. And there is a bit of a code on that one. Where's that pen gone then? Don't know, whatever happens to my pointers, you know, my chopsticks. So we've got that date, but is that a code or is that 1978? 45th week? Don't know. What these red ones, and of course they face these down, so we can't actually see what's on them, and I don't know what type they are. So there's a red one there, and then there's one here as well. That's it, just a little bit more so you can see, get everything in shot. So yeah, so we've got some tasty stuff in this amplifier. These mustard caps, and really good. This amp's laid out really well. See the detail with all the wires, a bit high wattish in its look, but superb. Heaters all done over the top there, properly wound. Heater wires, filament wires, wound all the way around the chassis there. Going to the pilot light. Same on the output tubes here. We've got the filament wires all neatly tied up there with the brilliant. Very impressive. But I do think this amp could do with some new capacitors in it. But I bet you none of these mustard caps are a problem. They never fail. Very rare. I have found odd ones that's been leaky, but not very many. So I'm guessing this amp is from around the mid-late 70s, I would think. I'd like to just turn this capacitor around and have a look. So I think we might just loosen that nut off of there and see if we can twist that round. Right, so I've got this capacitor just out of its clamp. 32 at 450 volts working. Is that 79th, 5th week? I don't know. 1979, 5th week, maybe. So if that's the case, these capacitors are seriously old. They're now into the 40 years plus bracket. Now I actually these 200 microfarads, which you wouldn't get now, but I've actually ordered some 220 microfarad capacitors for that Vox 125 that we're going to be working on in part 2. Remember, we did the assessment video. If you've not seen that video, the Vox 125, we only did that about 3 or 4 weeks ago, so it's on the channel. And I've had to order some of those, and I've actually got those here. They are the tube doctor ones. 220 at 350 working. These are 200 at 350 working, but those are due in series. So some serious smoothing on that first stage there. We've got 100 microfarad. Remember, if they're wired in series, it halves the microfarad, so there'll be 100 microfarad, but it doubles the voltage rating. So we've got 100 microfarads at 700 volts working with those two together. So with this one, we'd have 110 microfarad with two of those that we got there, two of those at again at 700 volts working. These are 32 microfarad. Well, the ones I've at 450 volts, the ones I've got are 500 volts. I'm presuming that one on the end there is the same. Well, this amp is fixed bias as well, which it obviously it will be, being such a big powerful amplifier. And you can see we've got diodes there and there, there and there, and that's the rectification. And then we've got a diode here, and that is for the bias to create the negative volts. I'm guessing that's the bias preset say that again. I'm guessing that's the bias preset adjustment. And Pink's just come in, by the way, so you may see a dive up on the bench in a minute. And then yes, Pink. And then we've got 22 microfarad there at 100 volts. That will be smoothing for the bias, I'm guessing there. Another radio space capacitor here. Let's just bring that down here. 10 microfarad at, what's that? Is that 250 volts working? Not sure what that's doing. So yes, this is a really, really nice amplifier. Real quality. There's some real good work gone into this amp. So what have we got to do to this amp then? So first of all, the faults that this amp has come in with, that's the reverb being broken, and to change these tubes back to KT66 from EL34s. This runs perfectly fine on EL34s. This belongs to Lee at the shop, and when he got this amp, it came with a brand new pair of KT66s, so he wants to put those in, and so it's all back to original. I think that's a great idea, personally. I think that's good. So we can bias those up. Same, as I say, same dissipation, 25 watts. Now, secondly, what other work do I see in here now that we've opened it up? Well, this amp sounds okay, but you get the impression that it's in need of a recap. It sounds okay, but it does have a bit of lackluster, and I can't believe something built of this quality would normally sound like that. So I'm guessing that, you know, these capacitors here, which will be bypass capacitor, cathode bypass capacitors on the stages, you know, these will all be tired. And again, they all look all right, but you know, they're 40 odd years old. I think that's Pink again. What you doing, Pink? Throwing stuff off that bench. That's what you're doing. I've never known a cat that will get down and go to sleep on electrical components, on anything. Pink will use it as a mattress, and anything she doesn't want on my bench, she will throw it off onto the floor. The joy of pets. So anyway, I digress. So I think that is 1979, 5th week. I could be wrong, but we know these capacitors are really old. But then again, we've got this up here, 101 090 96. I don't think this amp is from 1996 for a number of reasons. One is I don't think they were putting these mustard caps in amplifiers in 96. Plus it's a very old-fashioned layout, and the transformers are another giveaway that this amp, and the sockets, various things in here that shouts this amp is from the 1970s, probably late 70s. So these tag boards that the mount of the components on, they're the same as what you have in the Vox AC30s. So this is a really excellent amplifier. So I'm going to recommend that this amp be recapped. And we've got these 4 big electrolytics, and we've got all of these, and that's what I think we should do with this amplifier, and I think it deserves it, you know, because this is a fantastic piece of kit, and I'm sure if we recap this amplifier it will sound phenomenal. So I'm going to pop this back in here now, because I'm going to run this amplifier, and I don't want to be running it while that's floating around, do I? That's dangerous. So that's it's not gone right in, but it's solid. As long as it's solid, that's it. Yeah. So I'm going to run this up, and I think I might just check a few voltages here and there and just see. I might just check the bias as well, because it did to me sound like it's running a bit cold on the bias. So I think we'll check that as well. Right, so I've got a meter connected to it. We don't need it on the variac or anything because we've already run this amp up. We know it runs. So you can see the meter there, 491 volts as soon as I've switched it on. So under 500 volts at cold startup. Listen to the hum. And then it fades away. I don't know how well you can hear that, but and you can see now. But 483, that's not dropped a great deal, has it, considering how many tubes are in this amp. 9 volts. That tells you just how good that power transformer is. That really is a beast. So 481 volts we've got going there. That's a lot of voltage on a 50 watt amplifier. Very settled. So let's see what we've got over here. 248 on that stage. Sounds like we've got some microphonic tubes. And that is the output tubes. On there. So let's see what we've got on the bias. Negative 45. Negative 45.5. Well, I can tell you one thing about this amplifier that's definite. There is no evidence. Sorry about that. Pink's just thrown a load of stuff on the floor. Now, where was I? Yes, there's no evidence whatsoever that Mr. Laycross has been in this amplifier. There is no sign whatsoever. Whoever's put this amplifier together knew exactly what they were doing. So that's good. Right, so I'm going to turn this amplifier off now. The pilot light has gone out. now, and that was definitely working before, so I don't know what's happened there. So since we've taken it out of the chassis, the pilot light's decided it's not working anymore. I just said I was just going to switch it off, and I looked and I thought, oh, I already have done, because I got the volumes turned down, but it's definitely on. So what we'll do is I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to switch off. Try that, switched off the light instead. Oh, fool am I. There we go, and we can see those bleeder resistors are taking that voltage down, so that's fine. Let's just check this one again before we start leaning into it. Yeah, that's just 11 volts in there. That's good. So what I want to do now is measure across the transformer windings, because we need the impedance off those windings to calculate the bias. So we have got 381 volts, although I may have to check that again because that wasn't from the plate, that was from the center tap. We may have a bit less on the plate, so I'll check that again, but that's what we had on the center tap. And then we had negative 45.5 on the bias there on pin 5. Right, let's have a look what we've got here. So this is the output transformer. We'll hone in on there. You can see, and we just need to look at some of these wires. Well, I can see that yellow wire there is going there. So what is that? Oh, that soldering looks a bit don't know about that. Maybe that's just mask. I think that's got I think that's just decayed a bit, but the components wrap around properly. I think that's just age on that. It's just decayed over time. Just touch those up, it's no problem. We'll check these resistors as well, make sure they're in spec. 1.5k those are. So back to this yellow wire. Well, that's pin 1. Pin 1? Not sure about that. So where's this green wire going? That's going up. Is that going up to the speakers? Right, let's see what's on pin 3, because that will be the plate. Just trying to look there. 2. Is that pin 3 plate? Green, the wire there. Well, let's just do a continuity test, because I can't. Some of these wires are so tightly packed, I can't see where they're going. So that's one green wire. Right, so that, yeah. So these 3 here, the green, the red and the white, they look like the primary, and these are the secondaries on here. That must be the ground for the secondary then. That makes sense, because that's on pin 1 and that goes to ground. So that all makes sense. So let's assume red is the center tap. Let's have a bit of a measure and see. Actually, the way these transformers are made, it makes it very easy to test this. Very easy. This is just excellent. Very easy amp to work on as well and maintain. A lot of thought's gone into this amplifier. 42.2 on that side. And look at that. 42 point. Well, that's... Look at that, 42 and 42.2. My word, that's a serious bit of quality, isn't it? That is excellent. What a tool that is. Normally you'll find those are 20-30 ohms out between them, but that is perfectly matched, and that just makes it easy to match the tubes as well. So we just put that at 42R. Right, we're going to run it back up again, and we're going to check that voltage from plate to ground, because rather than from centre tap to ground like we did on here. And the reason for that is we may have a bit less voltage once it's gone through the transformer. So we just need to check that and make sure that we're right on it. I think you can still just about see the meter. Let's put it back onto DC, and we need to look at that pilot light as well and address that. You have to be careful with pilot lights, because you've got the volumes turned down and you think, oh, that's turned off, and there's the noise again, and then it fades away, begins to fade away. So yeah, you have to be a bit careful with that, because you think it's turned off and then it's not turned off. Right, so we need that plate voltage. Actually, I don't need that -45, do I? But it's just, I've just got that as a guide. I need to then measure the volts drop across each side of this transformer, which we'll do after I've checked this plate voltage. So pin 3, try this one, 480, so it's 479. So we've got about the same, it's just slightly less as it's gone through the transformer. Where did I get 381 from? So what have I got on there? Yeah, 480, I've wrote 380 down. Dear oh dear. My head at the moment, it's everywhere. 480. So it's the same on the centre tap as it is on the plate. 480 volts, not 380. Fool. So I've got this, I've got that negative voltage, but that's irrelevant to check the bias. It just gives me an idea of where that voltage is. So we now need to check the volts drop across each side of this transformer, which again will be very easy to do. The way having this transformer like this here is that's really good. So let's try one side, see if we can get this. So you can hear the cars. I've got the door open as well. So we'll call that set 0.725 on that side. So that's the white wire. That's going to that tube, the furthest tube at the end there. And then we'll try this side. 0.973. So a bit of difference in those two tubes, because of course we know that transformer's exact. That transformer is perfect. So we've got all those, with all that information, we'll go for the large calculator, which we've had to cover up the advertising part of it there. Other large calculators are available. Right, so let's do the maths on this bias. So we'll do this side first, which is this tube here. So 0.723, sorry, 0.725. Put your glasses on, Martin. Divide by 42 ohms. That is 17.26 milliamp. That don't seem a lot. So if we times that by 480, that's 8.2 watts. What did I say about that running cold? It just sounded like it was running cold. My ears never let me down. That is running very cold. 8.2 watts. Well, that tells us something. We'll call that the right tube, because the way the amp's facing. So 8.2 watts. I had to double take that then when I looked at it. 17 milliamps. That really is low. So 70% of 25 is 17.5. So that's biased at 35%, something like that. That's very low. And we'll try the other side, but that's not going to be too much different, is it? So 0.973 divide by 42 again, that's 23 milliamps, and we times that by 480, that's 11 watts. So those tubes are massively unmatched, aren't they? Yeah, almost 12 watts on one tube and only 8.2 on the other, so they're 4 watts out, so that's not good. So when someone put the KT took the KT66s out and put the L34s in, did they not bother to bias it up? I don't know. Or has someone tried to bias it up not knowing what they're doing and they've biased them too cool? You know, that's way too low. So 33% the bias on that tube. So those, I mean, we've got a new set of tubes anyway. I just wanted to see roughly what the voltages were on this amplifier. So we know now why it didn't sound particularly great, because the bias at that low, and when we turned the gains full up and started winding the amp up, we just got crossover distortion there. So that tells us why we've got a poor sound, and that's why I wanted to check that, because my ears did tell me that was bias cold. So where are we now with this amp then? Because I'm going to do this as a part 1, and I'm going to put this video up just to see mainly what information we can, you know, if there's anyone out there that knows more about these Burman amps, because I know very little. There may be somebody watching the channel that's worked in a music shop that sold them when they were new, and they can tell me what age this is. Maybe even someone who worked at the factory where these were made, which would be absolutely wonderful if we could find that sort of information. So I'm going to recommend a full recap for this amplifier. We've got the tubes, brand new tubes. Hopefully they're well matched. We can bias this amplifier up and get that right. The pilot light needs addressing, because for some reason that suddenly decided to stop working. So we need to investigate that. We've got 4 electrolytics, 3 there and 1 here. That's better, just back the camera out. So 4 electrolytics to replace, big cans that is, and then we've got an axial there, another axial, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there, and they're probably bypass capacitors. And again, if they're tired, that will affect the sound again. And then we need to address that reverb. So I think that'll do it for this one. Anyone who knows anything about these amplifiers, because I know very little and I couldn't find a lot about them on the internet, so anybody who knows anything about these amps, please leave that in the comments. I'll be immensely grateful. It's always nice to get more information about amps that you're working on, and leave me your opinions in the comment, what you think about this amp and well it's made and good, and if you spotted anything I've missed, or any of you, there's 1 or 2 other techs that have spotted a few things that I've missed, and just lately I have missed 1 or 2 things because I've not quite had me head in the right place for obvious reasons. So thanks for watching, and you all take care. Thanks for supporting the channel, and all the people that subscribed, you've been really great. And you all take care, and I'll see you all in another video. Bye bye for now.